Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Monday, July 14th, Cabarrus County Board of Education combined work session and business meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we'll move on to our introductions. We'll introduce the people that are here up here on the dais. So we've got William Eisenhower, our board attorney. We have board members Melanie Freeman and Pam Escobar. We have our vice chair, Greg Mills, myself, Rob Walter, the board chair, our superintendent, Dr. John Kopicki, board member Sam Treadaway, board member Catherine Moore, and board member Shannon Lancaster. And then our new addition for this upcoming year, welcome Madison Little, our teacher of the year. Thank you for being here, and feel free to say hello, introduce yourself, and
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Madison Little. I am a 6th grade EC teacher at Winkler Middle School. I've been there all 4 years of my teaching, where previously I was a self-contained teacher as well, back when Dr. Williams hired me. I also am a cheerleading coach over there, and I love sports, so that's just amazing that I get to teach and coach at the same time. This year, I really want to make sure that I'm in schools and in the community and really just highlighting all of the great things that we have going on in this district. So please, if you know of anything or if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. I am here, and I just really look forward to connecting and continuing to grow and make sure we're doing what's best to serve the students that we have here in Cabarrus County. So thank you for having me.
thanks, Madison. I appreciate your energy. We're going to move on to section 2, which is our opening ceremony. So we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd stand with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I did forget to mention our deputy that's keeping us safe tonight is our SRO from Hickory Ridge High School. Welcome, Zach Dutch. Appreciate you being here. And we'll move on to setting our agenda tonight. So we've had the agenda posted on board docs since last week. Any additions or to that, or we'll need a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Excuse me. Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving our motion, our agenda for this evening, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, our agenda is set. And the first item here on 4.01 is the approval of our minutes from last month. So we have minutes from the meeting on the 2nd and minutes from the meeting on the 9th. Those have been posted for our review. I haven't heard any comments. I don't think Lori has gotten anything back. So if we are good with our minutes, we'll need a motion and a second to approve those.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Escobar. Anybody second? Second by Ms. Freeman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, our minutes from June have been approved. Moving right along. Chair and board chair comments. I don't think I have a lot tonight, but I did want to say, I know we are in the middle of summer, so I do want a special shout out to our staff that is working very, very hard behind the scenes to get ready for our new school year. I mean, our maintenance folks are making our schools ready. You've got the transportation staff working hard. We've got our school admin teams preparing for the new year, and of course our Ed Center staff as well. So I did want to say thank you to them. And then lastly, as we're going to be getting into the back to the school mode, and it's another month before the start of school, but if you're shopping for school supplies, please be on the lookout for those deals and consider purchasing an extra school supply or two and donating to one of the organizations that collect, sort, and deliver them to our schools and our teachers and students in need. I know the local Rotary works with the Channel 9 School Tools. I've been part of that for a number of years, but there are plenty of other organizations that are doing very similar things to help our students. So those are my comments for the evening, and I will pass it on to our superintendent for his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Walter. Just a few quick comments and a few brief reminders for our community. I hope, as Mr. Walter said, that everyone is having an enjoyable summer. And while our classrooms are quiet, I wanted to give a shout out this evening to those that are working hard behind the scenes, as Mr. Walter has said, preparing the lessons, enrolling students, and cleaning our buildings, maintaining our buses, making repairs, and organizing the materials, ensuring that every detail is in place for a smooth start to the school year. Whether you're behind the scenes or on the front lines, your dedication is creating a safe, welcoming, and engaging environment for our students to return to. This commitment continues to show our students, our families, and one another what it takes to make Cabarrus County Schools such a special place to work and to go to school. So I thank everyone for their professionalism, their perseverance, and their heart in the work that they do. In particular, I want to point out that our maintenance staff and a lot of those behind the scenes people, as I mentioned, our maintenance staff and our mechanics and our support staff and the people that are really working behind the scenes to make sure our schools are in the best shape they could be in over the course of the year. Without them, we don't operate as a school system. Their work is crucial to our work, and any achievement that we have, they are certainly a part of that success and a part of us achieving all the great things that we do here. So I want to thank all those people that are doing that work behind the scenes because they truly are special. They do great work and they are appreciated. So thank you. On that note, our open house, the first day of school for traditional calendar students is August 11th. In advance of the first day back to school open house events, the Cabarrus County Schools are going to be held August 5th through August 7th. For a complete list of dates and times, please again always check our district website or check your Parent Square account. Just a reminder to parents that this Wednesday at 6 o'clock, July the 16th, I will be at CC Griffin to speak to the parent community there and to get their insights on what they're looking for in their next principal at CC Griffin. As you may know or may not know, Orlando Robinson, the former principal of CC Griffin, has assumed the principalship at West Cabarrus High School, and we wish him all the best. We're excited for what he's going to bring to West Cabarrus High School. And then also on July 21st at 6 p.m., we will be at Concord Middle School again to speak to parents of the community and welcome Dr. Arbach and his leadership team, and to again share some of the history of Concord Middle School with the community, to also get some insight from them and to have a Q&A period with them and make sure that we are communicating effectively as to what the plans are for Concord Middle School moving forward. And then finally, beginning with the 25-26 school year, all public schools in the state of North Carolina will transition from Power School, which is our learning management system, to Infinite Campus as our new student information system. Infinite Campus will serve as the primary source for student grades, schedules, and attendance information. Information for how to connect to your student's Infinite Campus account will be shared with families prior to the beginning of the 25-26 school year. And I want to commend Carl Sain and his team in the technology department for that smooth transition. We began this work months ago, and Carl and his team have done a great job in getting us prepared for that. And that actual transition just started this weekend as we switched over to Infinite Campus, and so far so good. So we hope for the best, and we again thank Carl and his team for getting us up to speed on Infinite Campus and working hard behind the scenes. That's all I have, Mr. Walter.
Thank you, Dr.
I apologize. Thursday at West Cabarrus High School, we have the
Summer graduation.
summer graduation at 6 o'clock. So we welcome everyone to that as well. And to celebrate more students who, again, are graduating from Cabarrus County High School, and, again, a testament to the wonderful achievements of our students. So we congratulate them, look forward to seeing them Thursday evening. We invite our community to come on in and share that success with us. So thank you.
Certainly do. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item. What?
It's at 5 o'clock on Thursday.
5 o'clock on Thursday. Thank you for clarifying that. So our next,
I'll be on time now, Pam. Thank you. Sorry, Rob.
it's all good. So our next section was guest speakers. We did not have anybody signed up. Is that correct, Lori? We do have our Commissioner Laura Lindsay here tonight, and I appreciate you being here as well. Do we have anything you want to share with the board?
No, I wasn't prepared to do that.
That's fine. Not putting you on the spot. Didn't mean to do that. So, all right. So we'll move on since we don't have any guest speakers tonight. We'll move on to our report section. So, 7.01 is committee reports. We've had a few committee meetings. Greg, do you want to kick us off with the meeting you had this afternoon?
Sure. So today we had our legislative committee meeting. It was the first time we met since we went to Raleigh to visit our legislators. That was back in May. We talked about the budget stalemate between the House and the Senate, when it might be resolved, possibly late July or August. We talked about some of the ways that affects our employees. So some of our employees who would be expecting raises at this time of the year, not going to get it, but they'll get that paid once the budget is finalized. Mr. Furr gave us some updates on some of the bills that we've been watching. We had a wide-ranging discussion about pending legislation, how we can be more laser-focused in our advocacy. We're moving towards functioning more like lobbyists. We want to speak with the collective voices of our families and our students and our teachers. And we're also, as we move forward now, we're working on a communication strategy that gets our needs in front of our legislators more often. And as soon as the budget is set, we're going to begin work on how much our current legislative agenda might need to be tweaked for 2026.
Any questions for Greg? All right, well, thanks for that update and that briefing. Anybody else? Any other meetings? I know it's been a lot of vacation time. We just met a couple weeks ago. So I do have the one that I will be going to next week will be the collaboration that we have with the chairs and vice chairs of other school systems around the Charlotte area. And that'll also have a legislative focus. Okay, so anything else on committee reports? Moving right through our agenda. So we're now on to the action items. So this is a little different since this is a combined meeting. Typically we review these items and then we would decide either to put it on a consent or action for the following week. We don't have that option this time. So we've had to do a little extra homework, make sure that we understand these items. So our option is to vote on these items or to table it to another meeting. So hopefully we can get through these on the action item and get them reviewed and voted on. So we'll start with the first one, which is 8.01, and this is the closing budget resolution, and we'll ask Mr. Philip Penn to the podium. Welcome.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Kapicki, members of the board. This will, I think, be brief. At the June 30th meeting of the board, where we adopted the possibility of a closing budget amendment for the 24-25 year, we left open the possibility that we may need to come back to clean up a couple of issues within this, and it's our recommendation that out of an abundance of caution, we add $300,000 to the fund balance appropriation out of Fund 8. That's our special revenue fund. As is documented in the memo that was shared with you, there continue to be ongoing issues between Link, who is our software provider, DPI, and what they're receiving in the data file. In a statewide call of district CEFOs that use Link, it was discussed that there were going to be a possibility of a way of resolving this post-close, meaning we're going to have to go line item by line item with DPI to try and resolve this. That will be time-consuming and laborious, as you might expect. But there is at least the possibility of trying to resolve this in an amicable way, at least between us and DPI, that we can demonstrate, look, here's the data that's in the file. We see the outbound file, the data's in there. It's not being picked up correctly in your system. So there is going to be some additional information that comes out in the NC-ASBO DPI conference that is taking place on July 21st and 22nd. That's next week. So we will see where that is going to take us in terms of resolving this once and for all. And keep in mind, to the extent that it's not needed, anything that we appropriate and that doesn't get used just rolls right back into the fund balance. But you can't really end short on the year in terms of your revenue versus your expenses, so you're better to go high on the revenue if it's more than even you think you need, just to have that margin of safety given the ongoing issues we're experiencing.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Penn? What was the $30,000 item on page 2?
$30,000 item. I'm trying to recall what that was.
It's a decrease.
Yeah, I don't recall what the decrease is for. I think we just cleaned up one of the numbers basically. So the net increase would be about $300,000. There must have been something that came through in our actuals we took down by $30,000, but I don't recall what it is.
All right, if you can share that with the board when you have a moment, appreciate it. But I don't think that's going to make a difference on the amount here anyway. So. No. Okay, board members, this is an action item, so I would need a motion and a second to approve the request.
I'll move that we approve the amendment as presented.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Mr. Shirtaway, second by Ms. Escobar. Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, that motion passes.
Terrific. Thank you.
So we'll move on to item 8.02, and we have the beginning teacher support plan. We have Ms. Angie McLean and Dr. Williams. Welcome to the podium.
Good evening, Ms. McLean. Okay. All right. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Kopicki, and members of the board. I am very grateful to be here tonight with Angie McLean, our Beginning Teacher Support Coordinator, for our annual presentation of the Beginning Teacher Support Plan. In years past, we brought this plan before the board in September or October, but recognized the board's request last year to see the plan prior to the start of the school year, and so we've moved it to the July agenda this year. Our beginning teacher support team is small but mighty. It is led by Ms. McLean with the support of Christy Caputo, Amber Hartzell, and Michael Peterson. I am very blessed to work with these wonderful folks daily. I would also like to point out that under Ms. McLean's leadership over the last 24 months, our beginning teacher support structures have become a state model. Multiple districts have reached out to Ms. McLean to learn what Cabarrus County is doing to support our beginning teachers. Our beginning teacher support is part of the district's larger career ladders framework. Our goal is for our beginning teachers during their first 3 years to develop a point of proficiency where they are highly effective, long-term teaching professionals. If you take a look at our graphic here, we really support across 4 things. We begin with our beginning educator support. So what do we do during that first, second, and third year in that left-hand box to orient our educators and help them become early career professionals? In the second yellow box, we partner very tightly with curriculum and instruction to determine to help grow them in core educator knowledge and skills. So once they've made it through those beginning stages of becoming a teacher, how do we make sure that they are a highly effective teacher who will be in the profession for the long run and has a pathway to grow in their career? The dotted line you see down the middle, we call that our line of proficiency. Everybody has to get there. If you're going to be a teacher for our kids in our district, you have to be at that line where you are a good, really, really good teacher who has the skill set and has the content knowledge to be able to help kids grow and learn. And then the 2 white boxes on the right are the things that we've been very proud of in human resources over the last few years, where we have created educator leadership series and pathways where our veteran teachers who are really good teachers can find ways to continue to grow in the profession. Tonight, Ms. McLean will be focusing on that first yellow box, our beginning educator support, because that is what we are required by the state law to bring to you. And at this time, I am going to turn the presentation over to her because she is the one that ultimately spearheads all of our work with our beginning teachers.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Kopicki, the members of the board, and Ms. Little, District Teacher of the Year. It is a privilege to work alongside Dr. Williams and the HR department to support the beginning teachers in our district. As a former beginning teacher of Cabarrus County Schools, our district continues to put even stronger systems in place for our beginning educators. A key word that you will continue to hear throughout the next few slides is support. It is the foundation of the work that my team and I strive to implement for the teachers in this district. As the county continues to grow, so does the need for educators within the school. We anticipate to have 175 first-year teachers, 150 second-year teachers, and 140 third-year teachers. All beginning teachers have a trained mentor, and we have a total of 44 trained lead mentors. Based on a highly successful model such as West Cabarrus, many schools have added an assistant principal who is assigned to support beginning teachers. This is something that we are very excited about this year, and we spent time this morning training administrators on BT support. We strive to provide all beginning teachers with the differentiated levels of support that they need. All beginning educators receive a core level of support, which includes a teacher orientation, a mentor, and a lead mentor, new teacher support resources, content-specific professional development through the support of the Curriculum and Instruction Department, and optimum working conditions provided through the school's administration team. Beginning teachers who need an additional level of support will receive the core level of support, in addition to the school-level process map, coaching, and beginning teacher intensive professional development. A beginning teacher who reaches the need for an intensive level of support will be coached by the district teacher support specialist and continue to receive the supplemental and core support from their school. We believe in providing all beginning teachers with a strong core foundation. Each year, we focus on 4 key areas. First, the HR team provides an annual new teacher orientation. In 2024, we hosted a panel discussion with 4 beginning teachers from multiple schools at the new educator orientation. They shared their experiences as beginning teachers, the levels of support, professional development, and resources that they received. This year, we look forward to an improved format where new teachers will hear directly from highly successful teachers who have completed their first year. We will tailor the topics to directly impact the situations our new teachers might face. Our school level mentors provide personalized support for beginning teachers. This support starts at the school and extends to the teacher support specialist team. There are multiple online resources accessible to beginning teachers through the Human Resources homepage, such as the Cabarrus County Schools Beginning Teacher Support elementary site, the Cabarrus County Schools Beginning Teacher Support page. The district provides all first-year beginning teachers with 3 powerful resources, which are Teach Like a Champion, Get Better Faster, and Harry Wong's First 100 Days of School, which can be used for an additional layer of support. The final layer of continuous support is delivered by our dedicated curriculum and instruction team. Not only does our district provide beginning teachers with a 3-day orientation, we also provide support through mentors and lead mentors. Lead mentors host a monthly meeting, and beginning teachers also receive monthly beginning teacher newsletters from NCDPI. Multiple layers of ongoing support are implemented at the school through data digs, coaching, and from the Human Resources team. For teachers who need an additional support, we have developed a school-level process map that allows principals to know how to provide that support. This support can come through additional observations and assignments to a beginning teacher's classroom management course taught by me or other master teachers. This management course has been an incredible, impactful addition to supporting our beginning teachers. This past year, we held 2 different cohorts and helped more than 40 teachers develop their skills related to both classroom management and instructional delivery. This year, we will be expanding these courses to allow more teachers who need the additional support to get small group instruction and feedback from highly effective veteran teachers. If a beginning teacher needs an additional layer of support, the teacher support specialist team will partner alongside of the school to provide coaching and an individualized support plan. As a former classroom teacher assistant, teacher, and now teacher support specialist, I am one example of the growth for this county. Growing and supporting educators is such a pivotal focus for our district. Beginning teachers are coached through a quarterly checklist. This is our 3rd year with the implementation of support coaches. Our mentor program continues to grow, and last year we implemented a professional development which focused on the 3rd year beginning teacher. Over the next 3 slides, I'm delighted to share images that our communication team captured during the professional development entitled the Fewer Things Better BT3 Summit. Our beginning teachers received a keynote address from North Carolina's, will you click for me? Thank you so much. From North Carolina's 2022 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Leah Carper, and from 2 of our district's educators, Ms. Ashton Berry, former Teacher of the Year for Cabarrus County Schools, and Ms. Natalia Mejia. She was the beginning Teacher of the Year for the state of North Carolina. The 3rd year educators also received a copy of the book, Fewer Things Better by Angela Watson. We are excited to host our 2nd annual BT3 Summit this year on August the 8th at Roberta Road Middle School. We anticipate more than 100 BT3s will be joining us for the professional learning opportunity. At this time, I will return the presentation to Dr. Williams. Thank you for your continued support to the beginning teacher plan for Cabarrus County Schools.
All right, and I always make sure that I give her credit for this. So Ms. McLean is a gem here in Cabarrus County. If you all have not had a chance to spend some time with her, she is, you know, I'm proud of her for lots and lots of things, but one of them is when you look back through her story, she was a teacher assistant bus driver who got her degree and became a teacher, who became our teacher of the year, who's now moved into this role where she's supporting our teachers. And I would be remiss not to give you our BT's nickname for her. They call her everybody's fairy godmother. So Ms. McLean, thank you. You did a wonderful job with the presentation. I will close tonight to note a couple of pieces around funding. It's important to note that our funding for our BT support plan comes primarily from Title II funds, which are designated for improving teacher quality related to recruitment, support, growth, and development. The funds in Title II are used for personnel, for professional development, and for the new educator orientation. That's where we focus our funds for beginning teachers. Our Title II funds are also used for a variety of other allowable purposes, which include, for example, testing reimbursement, professional development, and performance stipends. This past year for our Math 1 teachers who moved students from not proficient to proficient. We annually are very careful to make sure that we review the use of all of our federal funds to make sure that we are hitting all of anything that we can do to improve teacher quality and teacher job satisfaction. Just so you're aware, last year our beginning teacher supports constituted approximately 21% of the full $1.1 million Title II budget. So it was about 21% of it. The remainder of those funds went to other purposes that were allowable under the federal grants. So for tonight, Ms. McLean has collected all of the documents and assurances related to the BT support plan. That is a Google folder that Ms. Furr has. If you wish to review that, policy TCED 016 requires the Board of Education to approve our plan, which was included in board docs tonight. And so at this time, we'll answer any questions you might have, and we look forward to your support as we continue to do the right things for our beginning teachers.
Okay, board members, thank you for the thank you for the presentation. All right, Pam.
Thank you so much. This is such an important topic, especially in our district as we continue to grow and we have new teachers coming on board. We want to support them and we want them to stay in the profession, and those first 3 years are critical. The question I have is to thank the coaches, our exceptional teachers that are taking their time to reinvest in our new teachers. Do they receive any sort of funding for this coaching, for this work?
Great question. For our mentors, there is no funding to cover those stipends. That was something that the state did many years ago, and around 2009 removed the funding for those stipends. And so our mentors, while we do our very best to take care of them as much as we can, they do not receive stipends for being mentors.
Well, I want to thank them even more, knowing that they're doing all that work, because it really ends up benefiting all of us for them to do that extra work, and I really appreciate that. The other question I have is, so you mentioned the Title II funding, and I appreciate you explaining where this falls in the 21%. Do we have any idea what current status of federal funds will affect this?
Yeah, so at this time, we do not. Ms. McLean and I have worked the last couple of days, Thursday and Monday, thinking through what our approach to new teacher orientation will be to begin the school year. We feel confident that we will be able to do that, and it be due to Ms. McLean's planning here, be a success. Right now, that we do not have an update on anything related to those Title II funds other than that they are frozen. What I would say is it will have an impact on us as we look down the road, because that funding is important to grow our educators. In the short term, however, we do feel very comfortable that we will be Ms. McLean's done a very good job getting things lined up for late July, and we will have a rousing success of a new educator orientation either way.
Dr. Kapicki.
as you're aware, we sent the board a notice today of the meeting that took place this afternoon with our Attorney General and Mo Green, our State Superintendent, and I know our own attorney, Mr. Eisenhower, did CC the board on information on that as well. So I believe, William, if I'm correct, that there is an injunction filed on this to right. Thank you. I stand corrected. But point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of wheels in motion across the state advocating for public education to make sure those funds are released. As Mr. Williams is correct, it's to the tune of $1.6 million for our Title II, III, and IV. It impacts us. I believe there are 9 different teachers, salaries and benefits that are tied to that. So that money is very important. And I've also had some preliminary conversation with Mr. Penn on how we would handle that should that be held up in any way or fashion, or if it's changed. But we'll keep the board up to date on that as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that update. Ms. Lankins?
So I was a mentor for many years. It was one of the most favorite things that I had during my teaching career. So it is a wonderful program, but I did have some comments and some questions.
Sure.
So one thing that I personally experienced working with beginning teachers is the professional development overload.
Okay.
They would have BT, PD, and then they would have a curriculum, professional development, and there was sometimes a disconnect of the different parties that were providing the PD, and the teachers felt overwhelmed. So I'm sure you all are conscious of that and make effort, because they're already overwhelmed just being new teachers.
Yeah.
And many of them would say, I just want to be in my classroom.
Yeah.
So that was one comment. The other one, you did mention classroom management. I think that's huge for beginning teachers. And the other one was your support coaches and specialists. So are those in-house people, or are they people that would come down from the county office?
No, that's a great question. So kind of a combination. So what we've done that is unique to Cabarrus County, we're right now, as best I can tell from my job alikes, we're the only place that's doing it. We have lots of folks calling us now about it, though. Pardon me. So a couple of years ago, we when I moved into the Human Resources Department, all of our coaching was provided through a contractor with the University of North Carolina system. We didn't have a lot of control over who was being sent and what they were doing. So one of the decisions that Dr. Bish and I made was to scale that back and take a look at what could we do internally with those same funds to be able to really get what we needed. And one of the exciting things we did is we hired a set of retired expert veteran teachers. So we have a cadre of retirees that are phenomenal, that work for the Human Resources Department. They report to Ms. McLean, and we have a flow map that we work through when we find a place where we need coaching and support. And then we work through our retirees, and what's great for them is they can work about 25 hours a week, and they can kind of work if they want to go on vacation. They're not really committed. They get to choose their assignments. What our beginning teachers love about it is we're sending, we'll call her out, we're sending Lisa Haney in, right? And Lisa Haney's a rock star. And so Miss Haney's going to come in and she's going to help you. We've got a team of those folks that work with us. And so it's kind of so yes, they're coming out of Human Resources to go and be part of that support. What I love about it is they're not really Ed Center employees. They're phenomenally good teachers who know how to get a class to do what it's supposed to do and are great for young teachers. And so those are the folks that we deploy to go and provide that support in those classrooms. And it has been a spectacular success, both in terms of retention of the folks that are those teachers. They feel like they got somebody to help them get it right. And then the other part of it is that we have this group of retirees that they really are good and they know what they're doing, and so they come back to us quite often and say it's one of the most fulfilling things they've ever done. So that's our team of, obviously the school is going to continue to provide the mentors and the things that they need to do at the school level, but when we find that spot where somebody just needs a voice to help them learn, for example, learn how to get a class to line up to go to lunch, we've got great retirees that slide in with us and they pick those responsibilities up.
All right. Ms. Moore?
I think this is great. My memories of starting out goes back to my mentor. I learned more from a mentor than I did my 4 years of college. Now, I was a mentor too, and being a school counselor, I was able to go in and observe. But the other issue was for mentor teachers, getting someone to provide coverage for them to go in and observe. And, I tried to help out some too, but have we come up with any solutions on that?
So Ms. McLean does a phenomenal job with this. A part of what we set aside with Title II funds is money for substitutes. And Ms. McLean works directly with the administration at the school to coordinate the substitutes on a pretty regular basis for folks to be able to go and do observations. One of the things I'm really proud of that she put in place is that those observations and that are now kind of structured rather than just somebody going in and trying to give feedback. We have some specific things that we look for, but we do utilize our funds to be able to provide those substitutes. What I'd also tell you is we've hit some spots in a few of our schools where the substitute either didn't pick it up or didn't show up, and so all of our HR folks, myself included, have gone out and covered those classes when we need to make sure that those teachers get that opportunity.
Yeah, because that's very important. But thank you.
Ms. Little, welcome again. Sometimes we'll just ask you to see if you want to have an opportunity to provide some additional context to us on some of the items that are presented to the board. This being one that you've gone through before. So.
Yeah, so beginning teacher support is really important to me because I know firsthand how much it impacted my career as an educator. It's also pretty cool because I come from a school where last year we had over 20 BT1s in our building. And so I got to see firsthand as a mentor, but also as a part of our lead mentor program, what HR was doing with this plan to support our BT1s in our school. And Miss Haney was there and she did a phenomenal job. And we also did have substitutes coming into the classroom so that, I was opening up my classroom, the teacher next door was opening up their classroom to make sure that teachers did get to see it, because I know that was really important for me. I needed to see it being done correctly so that then I could model and do the same thing for my students. I also think that when it comes to new employee and new teacher orientation, that also is something that is really important, because for me, it allowed me to build a really good group of people that I knew I could contact and reach out to in the event that I ever needed anything. And so I think that having that at the start of the school year before we go back is extremely important, because it allows you as a beginning teacher to build your network. So I think all of these things are great, and I hope that we can continue to keep going with them and build on all of it as well.
Thank you for that feedback and extra context. Melanie?
The number, and you might not have a number, but percentage-wise, this includes people who just graduated from college as well as lateral entry?
Yeah, so lateral entry, the phrase for that now is residency. So the state phased out lateral entry. It's the same thing.
Okay.
So if you hear me switch on it, that's the switch on it. So this is all of our folks that are new teachers. So this could be folks that just graduated from college coming out of a teacher preparation program, a traditional program. It would also be anyone who's doing a mid-career switch and coming over. They would still be a beginning teacher. They are in a residency program at a university, so the university actually signs their paperwork for them, which is the difference between the two. But we treat those folks as beginning teachers, and we provide that level of support. We're also very cognizant here in Cabarrus about our folks that are in residency programs and in what used to be called the lateral entry programs. We provide some additional support for them. We monitor very carefully right now to make sure, as we go through the year, to make sure those folks are adjusting. They're obviously coming out without that traditional teacher preparation. Ms. McLean's team does a phenomenal job when we find those folks that aren't quite adjusting and need a little more support. That's where our beginning teacher support course came from, because we felt like we can't wait on somebody to help them. We're going to build these things. We're going to build these courses out, and we're going to bring them in, and they'll get another touch of this when they go into their coursework. But we're not going to wait until they get 2 or 3 years into the coursework. That's how you lose someone. So Ms. McLean's team with their beginning teacher support plan, really, a lot of the folks that are in that are actually residency teachers that have not gotten through all of that coursework yet. We've got them. In Cabarrus County, we take care of them.
Thank you, Melanie. One of the things I try to do is look at what our plan was last year and look at this plan and see what changed. And there was something that was a partnership with NC New Teacher Support Program, not mentioned this time.
Yeah, that is the program that we removed in order to do our retirees. And so we did not feel like we were getting.
Okay. So the retiree program you just talked about, and
Yes, sir.
it replaces that.
That's correct.
Okay. And then the other thing that was notable was it's been a fairly successful program because our numbers are going up. I mean, it says third year teachers went from 115 to 140 in participation. That's awesome.
Correct. We are.
That's really well.
They've
Says
done
a
a
lot
great job.
Says a lot to the rock star we have in Ms. McLean, and thank you for all the work that you guys are putting into this program. So I guess with that, does anyone else have anything further? We pretty much understand what we're voting on. As the beginning teacher plan, we would need a motion and a second to approve. All right, motion by Ms. Escobar. Second by Ms. Lancaster. Okay, that's fine. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much for your time and the presentation. So moving on to 8.03, policies for first read. And we are going to invite Mr. Gordon Palmer to the podium. Welcome.
Good evening, Board Chair, Dr. Picky, members of the board. I've got 4 policies to share. I've got a brief shameless plug before I share those policies. I received an email today from the College Board in recognition of our AP scores. We had just received our AP scores back, so the students are receiving those. We get those in the summer, and they sent us a kudos email for the positive gains that we have made. So this past year, as compared to the previous year, we increased over 200 more students engaged in AP courses. Over 375 more AP exams were taken this previous year. And we've also increased our proficiency about 5%. So not only are we increasing how many students take AP, how many courses and exams they're taking, we're also increasing their proficiency. So they said these results are amazing and a testament to the hard work of Cabarrus County School students, teachers, and leadership. So I wanted to make sure that our teachers and students got the recognition tonight for their AP scores that just came
I
in.
appreciate you bringing that to our attention because that is a big deal. You don't normally see a 5% move on anything. So, Dr. Kapicki.
That's the second year in a row we've increased, correct, if I recall from last year?
Yes, second year in a row that we have increased. Yep.
It's great work by you, Gordon, and Ms. Reeves, and our principals, our teachers, and all of our students. So I appreciate all the work you're all putting into that, so thank you.
So at this point, I'll put on my Dr. Ward hat and share these policies with you guys. So I've got 4 policies. It's policy 1300, 1500, 1600, and policy 1760-7280. So all of these policies fall under the thousands code, which is the governing principles section of our policy manual. And to summarize these kind of simplistically all together, we had to include an addition of Title IX in these policies. So basically, if you look at policy 1300, governing policies or governing principle, parent involvement, it'll say what our principle is, and then it'll say all of the policies that fall under that governing principle within our entire policy manual. So we had to add 2 policy codes specifically for Title IX. Where you see additional edits is when I went through this, I noticed that we had to clean up the policy a little bit because there were some policies that were included that had been archived. For example, policy 2420. That policy is included in a different policy, now 2410, and it's archived. So just some minor edits, nothing substantive, just minor technical edits. So all of these policies are really just adding Title IX. Any other changes is really just cleaning up the policy that hadn't been changed in a few years.
Okay, and these are first read policies, so we'll see them again next month. But any comments or questions on our first read policies presented to us? Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve them on first read. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Lancaster. Do I have a second? Second. Give to Ms. Freeman. Any further discussion? And with that, let's vote. All in favor of the 4 first read policies, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, those have passed to move forward to next month.
All right.
All right, now you're still here for the next item, which
Yep.
is 8.04. Policies approval for second reading. These are ones that we've discussed previously, and if they are approved tonight, they will be effective. So,
Yep, these are parent involvement, operation of school nutrition services, evaluation of student progress, and staff-student relations. These have already been presented to the board, and I have not received any feedback, and I checked within our office, and we had not received any feedback to make any changes after our previous board meeting.
okay, board members, you've looked at these as well. Any comments or questions? I did have the one that I brought forth on my objection to the use of the school day. Did the committee talk about that, or how
So
did that get resolved?
Our committee has discussed that, and it is just due to the federal regulations where they outline a school day in terms of they don't want competition with school nutrition. So an example that I would use is it's very similar to the North Carolina Athletic Association. They have a policy where a contest is when the refs come on campus. That is the start of the contest. Now we know when we're spectators, the event starts when they blow the whistle, they kick off the ball. But North Carolina High School Athletic Association says when the referees arrive, that's when the contest starts, and when it ends, that's when the referees leave. So it's similar. That's an example that I would use, but we're just following federal regulations. And if anything, the committee decided that we would just add a small change that says this is based on no competition following federal definition.
Greg?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the statute that you're referencing that defines the school day as beginning at 12:01 and ending at 30 minutes after the last bell actually is going to affect several of our policies. I think there's 3 of them that reference that law.
Mhm.
So probably the policy committee will have to come back at some point with a recommendation to correct all 3 of those.
To correct all 3, correct.
Yeah.
So is it, are we sending it back for them to make sure that's
Do we have to send it back, or is the policy
So
committee
this,
working on that?
I think what the recommendation of the committee is to pass this because it is a required change.
Okay.
And then what we can do is bring it back to the committee for multiple policies to put in that small caveat.
Question is, do you need us to task you with those 3 other policies, or can the policy committee just take that up?
The policy committee can take that up.
Okay, well, with that understanding, I guess I'm okay with that then. All right, that was my questions. Anybody else? Okay, with that, I guess we could do the same thing we did before, is approve all 4 of them with a motion and a second. So somebody wants to make the motion?
I move we approve these as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Chataway, second by Mr. Mills. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? No. Okay, well, that motion passes as well. So
Thank you.
thank you. And we're going to move on to our next item, which is 8.05, and that's the, I guess, the school year 25-26 SRO contracts. And we have Miss Amy Louder to the podium. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. So some highlights to share from our, a couple things just with our partnership with local law enforcement. First of all, I want to say I'm truly grateful to Sheriff Shaw and Chief Hughes for their ongoing support and their agencies with helping us to establish and maintain school safety for all of our students. Because of this great partnership, we're so very fortunate to have SROs in our schools and a very well-developed comprehensive SRO program for our students. Now, to highlight the changes to our current MOU and contracts. We've made 3 changes to the documents from their original formats. You'll notice that these are the continuations of the contracts that began last year. One of them is a 2-year contract and one is a 1-year contract. To comply with our current HIPAA, COPPA, FERPA best practice guidelines, we added a statement about officers using VPN. VPN is the virtual private network. It's an encrypted, secure way to connect to a place whenever you're not there. We use the VPN to access secure information if they're not on a networked campus. So This has become increasingly important as our officers are needing to quickly draw upon available resources for ensuring that immediate safety for students, both on and off campus, during school hours and after school hours. So that is one change. Number two, since North Carolina has shifted our student information management system from Power School to Infinite Campus, we also modified the language in the SRO contracts to reflect these statewide platform changes. And then number three, to comply with DPI's revised pay schedule, we updated the state pay rates for officers with the determined number that DPI provided us. So those are the three changes that you're going to notice that are reflected in both of the contracts. It's important to note the grant doesn't specifically pay for all of our SRO positions, so I wanted to highlight that to the team tonight. The grant does a partial funding system. We requested enough local funding from the county to adequately fund the MOU through a combination of the local and state funds based on the current rate for SROs prescribed by DPI. The grant itself can pay a partial match of an officer's salary, and because Cabarrus County is not considered a low wealth district, we don't get that full amount that some of the other districts may provide. Another funding limitation with the grant, that the grant does not provide SROs for high schools. We know that there is a need for SROs in high schools, and so through our local partnerships with local law enforcement, they are able to provide those in-kind services, so they provide the SROs for the high schools who serve our students. And then another limitation of the grant, they're more competitive and less available. So as typical, we apply every year. Previously, we were able to obtain all the funds that we asked for. This past year was the first year. There were lots of people who had applied, and they had to share the pot of money that was available. So we did not get everything. We anticipate that there may be competition like this occurring in the future, so I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that the grant is limited with those three particular aspects. Are there any questions anyone might have about the grant changes for this year?
Appreciate the details. Board members? Questions? Guess a couple from mine. I think the city agreement was a 2-year agreement, wasn't it? So it wasn't due to be renewed?
But because of those three changes, we went ahead and just made that. Part of our agreement in the contract says if there are modifications, we bring that back every year.
Okay,
we
so
wanted to keep them current
so
together.
that's what it's for. And then there's a significant increase in cost. I guess maybe that's Mr. Pennant question or answer. I think it's $300,000 more. Is that in the budget, or is that something we're going to have to find?
We added it.
We did prepare for it.
It's in the budget.
Okay, so that's good. Those were my questions. So hearing none from anybody else, Ms. Lancaster?
So if we think the grants are not going to really be there moving forward, are we brainstorming on being proactive?
So we've been in these conversations for many years. That's a very good question, because we are, like I said, the grant doesn't pay for everything, so we've not been fully dependent on the grant. Knowing that that's the case, we are having those conversations to make sure everyone understands this is an excellent program. It is definitely supporting the safety of our students, and we do need to have additional creative ideas for partnering with others to be able to provide those funds.
So continued discussions, I'm sure.
Okay.
All right, well, we all obviously support the work that's done by our SROs in our school buildings, and it does make a huge difference.
Thank you.
So with that, if there's no more questions, we'll need a motion and a second to approve these contracts.
So moved.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Escobar, second by Mr. Chataway. Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote on that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, those contracts are approved.
Thank you so very much.
So moving on to 8.06, and these are the Microsoft subscription licensing. And we have Mr. Carl Singh coming to the podium. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Dr. Kopicki, and members of the board and viewing audience. Tonight I'm presenting our annual renewal of Microsoft 365 licensing, which supports our entire district. This investment covers 35,000 students and 4,000 staff across Cabarrus County Schools. The total cost for the year is $269,767.25, and this provides the foundation for digital instruction, collaboration, secure communication, and back-end operations. With this purchase, all staff will receive access to Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook for email, Teams, and OneDrive, either through the browser or as full desktop applications. Students receive access to the same tools at no cost to the district. In addition, this agreement includes licensing for critical back-end systems like SQL Server, Windows Server, and remote desktop services, which power much of our district's infrastructure. These tools are used by staff every day for instruction, communication, and collaboration. Students gain real-world skills by working in the same software that's standard in higher education and most professional environments. And of course, our IT systems rely on the included server licensing to keep things running securely and efficiently. To ensure fiscal responsibility, we solicited quotes for this Microsoft 365 licensing purchase from 3 separate vendors. Each vendor was asked to price the same set of services and licensing quantity so we can make a true apples-to-apples comparison. Last year's contract with Microsoft was for $272,108.47. We had budgeted $305,000 for this purchase. You can see that the lowest quote came in at CDWG at $269,767.25. This is a wise investment that ensures that our students and staff have access to the tools they need to succeed with strong compliance and infrastructure support behind the scenes. Does anybody have any questions about the Microsoft purchase?
Well, that's good news. It's below budget. So, questions? Pam?
And this might not be a question for you, but thank you. So if it's below the 305, where does the excess go?
So we accounted for some assumptions when we created our budget for increases based on the market, based on demand. Last year, we started the exact same year with with a savings on our Microsoft, but then we had other software pieces that came in over. Mr. Penn and I have discussed this. We're basically going to hold that in our budget in anticipation that some software may go over, may go under, or we could use that in other flexible ways.
Okay, so but it stays in IT.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Lancaster?
Will you refresh my memory? So the Chromebooks are Google-based, right?
That's correct.
And students do not use the Google Docs and that type of thing. They're encouraged to use this.
Students do use Google Docs. They would have access to Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google products, as well as Microsoft. Notice that the Microsoft licensing is free for all students. We're basically thinking of this as a purchase for our staff. They do have access to Microsoft, so I looked it up. In Google Docs, we typically have about 22,000 students accessing Google Docs on a monthly basis for an average of about 3 million minutes per month across all of our students. Microsoft 365 for our students is about 12,000 students per month at about 175,000 minutes per month. So it's not nearly the same use as Google Docs, but students do have access to it, which if you've used Google Docs versus Microsoft Word, it's helpful for students to have access to both. Google Docs is much more helpful for collaborative tools, whereas Microsoft is what students may experience in the workplace or in college.
Anybody else? Okay, we all understand what we're voting on? All right, with that, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
All right, so motion by Mr. Mills, second by Ms. Lancaster, then that's to approve the Microsoft subscription licensing renewal at the amounts you presented. So, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that passes, and we're going to keep you at the podium for the next one, which is 8.07 Barracuda software licensing.
Thank you very much. The second purchase I'm presenting is our renewal of Barracuda cybersecurity and backup services. This is essential to protecting our digital environment. This year we're purchasing, the plan is to purchase, or the presentation is to purchase through CDW for a total cost of $225,873.45. This renewal includes services for all of our users, 41,000 student accounts and 6,000 staff email accounts. This purchase includes email filtering and archiving, cloud-based data backup, load balance, license renewals, real-time virus protection updates, and coverage for hardware replacement in the event of failure. These are not optional extras. They're foundational to how we keep our systems safe and our communications uninterrupted. Barracuda protects our inboxes from phishing attempts, from spam, and from malware. Its archiving tools allow us to meet legal and compliance standards for public records and for e-discovery. The backup and replacement services ensure we can recover quickly from data loss, from hardware failure, or from cyber attacks, minimizing disruption to instruction and operations. As an aside, I just now looked at our Barracuda overview, and it tells you how many threats you gain, and it gives you a map of the world. In the last 24 hours, for perspective, we've had 7 threats from the country of Bolivia. So we receive quite a few threats across the day. Barracuda helps mitigate those threats. As with our Microsoft purchases, we conducted a competitive quote process for the renewal of Barracuda email, security, and backup services. We reached out to multiple authorized resellers to evaluate pricing and service terms for the same Barracuda products that we've been using. As you can see on this slide, CDWG submitted the most cost-effective quote at $225,873.45. Last year we spent $244,517, and we had originally budgeted $275,000 for this purchase. This is a proactive investment in our digital safety and operational resilience. It allows us to maintain a secure, stable, and compliant technology environment, one that supports both instruction and behind-the-scenes systems that make everything else possible. Does anyone have any questions about the Barracuda email
Mr. Treadway?
support?
The range in the quotes.
I anticipated the question. Essentially, there are some authorized vendors that if some of these companies, so you can buy Barracuda from multiple different vendors.
So we're getting on the black market or something?
If it's an authorized vendor, they can, I mean, it's a drastic reduction.
Right.
Yeah, I had the same question.
And I noticed there's no request to renew Duo. Is that?
To be honest, I don't know off the top of my head what that contract is. We're in year 3 of that contract.
Got stuck with that tonight.
I had the exact same question. When we had budgeted 300 and we were seeing the first quotes come in at 400, I was considerably worried. Some of these are authorized resellers, so they get.
What vendor are we using now?
We're currently using. I don't want to speak off the top of my head. I think we're actually using Tiber Creek, if I'm not mistaken.
So we're switching. There's our vendor switch there.
It's a vendor switch. Obviously, it won't change the software that we're using.
Right, but still, who you're going to call?
That's correct.
Bam.
So for these last 2 things, we're now going to be with CDWG. Was there any sort of like if you buy in bulk, like with insurance or whatever, if you use your house and your car, is it the same thing? Or
CDWG offers a multitude of products for education. We obviously try to play this by the book and make sure that we're.
Okay.
I mean, we just asked for the lowest bid they can offer us, and CDWG came in for both.
Okay, and so they were separate. The process was separate.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All good questions. Anybody else?
I believe last year we were with Soft Choice with Microsoft, and yes, Tiber Creek for Barracuda.
Okay, I didn't see anybody else. All right, with that, we'll, as long as we understand what we're voting on, we need a motion and a second to approve the Barracuda software licensing renewal as presented.
Make a motion that the Barracuda software licensing renewal be approved as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll give Catherine. All right, Catherine will get the second for that. So, ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we are moving on to 8.08, which is our Title I program update and our 2025 school year budget presentation. And we have Dr. Mary Beth Ross and Ms. Amy Cummings coming to the podium. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, school board members, and Dr. Kapicki. We are here to share our district Title I plan for the 25-26 school year. And I have Amy Cummings with me. She is our district Title I coordinator, and she is integral to this work. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to her to share with you a few Title I celebrations.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are very excited to celebrate some things going on in the Title I world. First of all, our leaders in the Title I schools. So Rocky River Elementary Principal Tara Butch was named our Principal of the Year for 2024. So we're excited to have her at one of our Title I schools. And Concord Middle School's new principal, Dr. Auerbach, is a previous Principal of the Year. So we're really excited to have him in the Title I world. In addition, thinking maps, we're continuing that work in our Title I schools this year. We have the opportunity to train additional train the trainer folks at those Title I schools, and we're really excited about the work that they'll be able to carry on.
We did have a few comments from our Title I principals as to how this work is going, and Melanie Marsh, she shared that her school has expressed appreciation for having a consistent school-wide visual tool that supports thinking and learning across all grade levels in subject areas. And of course, being a school, a K-8 school, the thinking maps are vertical, and they start in kindergarten and go all the way through 8th grade there. They're using the maps for core instruction to model thinking processes, and then this upcoming year they're going to use the maps to organize their thoughts and strengthen their critical thinking and writing skills. Tara Butch shared with us that the thinking maps implementation there is very beneficial for all students, but has been especially beneficial for their EC and ML students. She says thinking maps have promoted vertical alignment across all K-5 classrooms and have proved to be highly effective strategy for academic achievement for all of her Roadrunners.
Okay.
So we're going to continue with thinking maps this year. We're going to dig a little bit deeper with those and extend it to writing.
Okay. All right, so just as a reminder, the purpose of Title I is to increase student achievement with special attention on students and families most vulnerable and not meeting standards of proficiency. When we talk about Title I, we're really talking about one grant that's part of the consolidated grant. When you hear people talk about Title I, II, III, and IV, that's what we're talking about. Okay.
All right, so as we said, Title I funding has been allocated this year. And across the nation, it serves 26 million children nationwide. Districts may serve schools with 40% or more economically disadvantaged students. And there are several options that we have to determine that funding sources, and we'll be talking about that. But it can be with free and reduced lunch applications or identified through direct certification for community eligible provision schools. Districts are required to serve any school with 75% or more economically disadvantaged students or provide equivalent support. So each year we have to determine how we are going to fund the schools. So the process for identifying our schools begins first with getting stakeholder input. So we meet with our Title I principals. We include some non-Title I principals in those meetings to get their feedback on the different options that we provide. And Amy's going to talk about that in a minute. And then we get feedback from, of course, our district personnel to determine what might be the best way to do that. This year, the bottom line was using direct certification, and Amy's going to talk about that at 42%, and then serving our middle schools 65% and above.
Okay, so the Department of Public Instruction provides us with 3 options for a funding formula. And I just want to give you a little bit of background information because I'm going to talk about going back and forth between options 1 and 2. So option 1 from the state is direct certification only. So the School and Nutrition Department puts together direct certification data on each school, and it lists the numbers of students that fall into certain categories, such as EBT, and also includes a free and reduced lunch number, but there are multiple categories of what constitutes that. And so funding option 1 just uses that direct certification data with no 1.6 multiplier applied. Option 2, which is where we have been for previous years, is direct certification for schools that are community eligibility provision schools, which means that all the kids get a free lunch or free meals. And then we used a free and reduced lunch data for those non-CEP schools. Again, this is where we had been, and this is the option that's most appropriate and DPI recommends when your Title I schools are a mix of CEP and non-CEP schools. And then option 3 uses direct certification with a 1.6 multiplier for all schools, and this is what DPI recommends for smaller districts where all the schools are CEP. So if we look back at financial years 23 to 25, so the last 3 school years, we had been doing that second option, including a 1.6 multiplier for those community eligibility provision schools. So what that 1.6 multiplier does is it actually artificially inflates the number of students who we use to calculate our per pupil allotment. So in 22-23, with that 1.6 multiplier for for CEP schools, we were serving the number of 4,480 students at a 45% poverty percentage. In 23-24, that number was 5,888 with a 50% poverty percentage for elementary schools. And then this past school year, we were serving 6,586 students at a 55% poverty percentage. And when we say poverty percentage, that's just a general term that we use whether we're talking about direct certification or free and reduced lunch. Next one. So for this next school year, we've moved to the option 1 because we really now don't have a mix or a good healthy mix of CEP versus non-CEP Title I schools. We have a situation where we have more CEP schools than non-CEP schools. That 1.6 multiplier artificially increasing the number of students that we multiply the per pupil allotment by really pulls funding away from those non-CEP schools that are in the mix. And when we consider that we spend about, our schools spend about 88% of their funds on adults in front of kids, that's teachers, teacher assistants, behavior management technicians, instructional coaches, those types of folks, that's really important to avoid doing that. So I just wanted to point out one thing though. Even though we reduced our poverty percentage, we're not excluding kids. It looks like, oh, you're only serving 4,125 kids this year. That's actually not the case. If we did, I did a little test where if we did add that 1.6 multiplier to the number of students served at the CEP schools, we would actually be serving more kids this school year, like 6,600 kids. So it's actually not a decrease at all. It just seems that way because we changed the formula and we're not artificially elevating the number of kids served at those schools. So we're doing this to avoid what I call the CEP cliff. So if you look at the next slide, you can see where in the 24-25 school year, we had 7 schools that, because when you add that 1.6 multiplier on, we were serving those schools at 100%. No schools were served in the 90% range or the 80% range or the 70% range. It dropped off a cliff to where then we were serving schools in the 60 and 50% ranges. Whereas if you look on the right side, this is going to be the upcoming school year where we're just using the actual number of students from direct certification. No schools number of students served is artificially being inflated by that 1.6 multiplier, and you'll see where you have this gradual from 64.83% down to 42.28% service level.
Right, so that has resulted in these schools that are Title I. They are the same schools as this past year. So you can see that we have 10 elementary schools. We have Royal Oaks included in that, and then we have Concord Middle School. Okay, so there are certain requirements for how we use Title I funding. First, Title I funds are used to supplement, not supplant, local and state funds. So an example of supplanting would be if we said, oh, well, this is a Title I school, so we don't need to give them so many allotment of teachers. We have to, they'll just make up for it with Title I funds and hire more people. So that would be a really horrible example of what supplanting would look like. As a matter of fact, we have to complete a comparability report every year and turn that into the state just to certify that we are giving teacher allotments to Title I schools at the same level that we are the non-Title I schools. We also have to support the identified schools
All teachers and paraprofessionals paid with those Title I funds have to meet state certification and licensure requirements. We must serve schools at or above the 75% poverty rate or poverty percentage or show comparable services from state and local funds, and serve and fund schools in rank order of poverty.
All right, so each school must create a Title I plan, and this is first, this is the Title I budget process from this. I think this was your slide, actually.
Well, it's okay. You go right ahead.
I was jumping ahead. The Title I budget process, of course, we have to go ahead and have that initial allotment, which this year we are very grateful to have that allotment and get started with it. We planned that with 90%, and that's what we start back in April, May, because of the positions that need to be hired. Then we have to begin thinking about our federally required district set-asides, which Amy will talk about. We have set-asides that we use to support school-level programs, such as thinking maps, and then we have our federal compliance requirements. And then, of course, like she just said, we have to rank according to our poverty formula.
Okay, so this year we were very fortunate to get an increase of $703,276. So we have a total Title I budget this year of $5.4 million. As you can see on this slide, only 15.7% of that is district set-asides, and we set as school allocations 84.3%. But actually, we are required to set aside, you want to go ahead to the next slide, part of the, one of those set-asides is actually parent and family engagement, which we send right back to the schools. So when you look at that 15% district set-asides, the federal government requires that we set 1% of the entire Title I budget aside for parent and family engagement. And we then have to take 90% of that 1% and send it out to the schools. We send it all out to the schools. We don't hold on to those parent and family engagement funds at the district. So 1% of that does go back to the schools. So when you look at where are we holding on to funds if we're not sending it all out to schools? So we have administrative costs. There are folks whose salaries are paid from Title I. We have indirect costs. That is a mandated percentage that we have to hold on to for indirect costs because certain budget codes that are in the Title I budget are required to incur an indirect cost. Non-public participation, we actually do have a percentage of that this school year. So the private schools are eligible to receive some of our Title I funds. We have to hold a meeting every year and invite all of the Title I schools, all of the private schools that are within our district to that meeting to learn all about our federal grant programs and how they may be a part of it. We did not have any of those schools wish to participate this year, but we did have a school that's outside of Cabarrus County that has students that would attend a Cabarrus County Title I school if they attended. And so one private school will be receiving some of our Title I funds this year. We also have a mandatory set-aside for neglected and delinquent youth program, homeless and foster care. Also, we hold on to some funds at the district level for our professional development, such as thinking maps, and then supplies and materials, early childhood, and that parent and family engagement set aside, which actually does go right back out to the schools. So this is what our budget looks like for this year. You can see how much we're holding on to district administrative costs, the indirect cost. We're holding on to $40,000 for neglected and delinquent youth program this year. Again, that parent and family engagement goes right back out to the schools. We increased our set aside for homeless youth or McKinney-Vento program. I'm sure you all are aware that our number of homeless youth has just increased exponentially. They need help providing the services as well. Then we have a set aside for foster care. That $2,629 is the non-public participation. So that is the funds claimed by a private school this year. And then we're holding on to $25,000 for professional development, supplies and materials, and early childhood. And then you can see the allocation for each school. Now, one thing we did introduce this year, and it was actually something we used to do, which is poverty bands. So poverty bands are when you give your neediest schools a little bit higher per pupil allotment. You notice there is approximately $5 differential between each poverty band there. Last year, we did not give poverty bands. We did the same per pupil allotment because of that CEP cliff that I described to you. If we had given those CEP schools a higher dollar amount per student, that would have pulled funds from the non-CEP schools even further away. So we did reinstitute poverty bands where our schools that are in the high 50s and the 60%, we essentially just included Wyankoff with the 60% group since they were at 59.3. And when we did our planning back earlier in the spring with February school nutrition data, they were actually over 60%. So we're funding them at the first poverty band, then we're funding the next group of schools in the 50s and high 40s, excuse me, the 50s in the next poverty band, and then the 40s in the third poverty band. And if you wanted to compare that to last year, it's very similar. Some of the bigger differences, well, first of all, we had about $700,000 less funding to work with last year. We did not give as much to homeless youth in our McKinney-Vento program. The $90,000 wasn't random, though. That was based on a matching grant. So there are really two pots of money that support our McKinney-Vento program. First, there's a separate federal grant that they receive, that our group in the homeless youth department writes, but then we match that with Title I funding. We had a little bit less that we were giving foster care. We actually increased that this year. Non-public participation, we did not have any private schools claim Title I funds last year. And again, you can see the cliff.
All right, so how do schools go about using the money to determine how they're going to spend it? So this process starts when they get their planning allotment, and then we have our Summer Leadership Academy. So at Summer Leadership Academy, we have all schools do this process to complete a comprehensive needs assessment. And this is where the schools will determine their school improvement goals. So all of the funding that we have for Title I must be aligned to their school improvement goals. So whatever they say that they're going to be doing to improve literacy or improve math, when they are submitting any kind of requisitions for staff, we have to approve those. Amy has to approve every school's plan and make sure that it does align. She has to make sure every purchase aligns to their goals. So we are very specific about that and make sure that that happens. So once that takes place, these are directly aligned to their school improvement plans. And then, of course, throughout the year, schools monitor the success of their plan quarterly to see if there's any adjustments that might need to be made. All right, some other ways which Amy already mentioned. One of the primary ways that schools use their funding is for personnel. And what personnel do they hire? Well, they either hire certified teachers, which they can do to add to a grade level in the building. They can hire interventionists that come in and do, could be a certified full-time interventionist, or they hire tutors. I would say a majority of our schools will hire tutors to come in during their intervention time. So that is one of the primary purposes. Some will hire teacher assistants, and some have some other positions that they feel best aligned to their school needs.
Parent and family engagement is a huge component of Title I. So we want to make sure that the families of kids in Title I schools get into the building. So they use those funds to encourage parent participation or materials that may help them help their children at home.
Schools do reserve some of that funding to purchase instructional materials. It could be aligned to the current curriculum that they're using. It could be, obviously there's supplemental materials. It could be technology.
In addition, research-based instructional materials provide students with high-quality learning experiences.
And it could be that they use them for intervention and enrichment opportunities for students. And then finally, teachers can use that funding to provide personalized learning experiences for our students. And that's it. Do you have any questions? I know that was a lot of information tonight.
Yeah, a lot of information, but I do appreciate the comparison chart so we can really see the differences year over year. So, Ms. Escobar?
Thank you. I also want to say thank you for explaining some of this to the Concord Middle School parents the other night, because I thought that that was also helpful to understand if you're a Title I school, what does that mean? Because you hear these things, but it doesn't necessarily register. So understanding that it's more money for your school to hire people, makes it understandable. So speaking of that, so we know that our schools at this point, they already met for summer leadership, so they've made their plans based on their allotments. How does the funding come in? You know, we hear from Mr. Penn on a regular basis about, well, we just got this, we just got that. Is Title I, do they give it to us all at once? Do we already have this in-house? How does that work?
You'll have to answer that question.
Yeah, invite Mr. Penn to the podium.
So in a typical year, and this is not a typical year with everything going on with the federal funding, right? But in a typical year, Title I funding will drop in a block. We'll get a preliminary number that we call a planning allotment from the federal government to say, this is what we think you're going to have. And then the formal process is what is a GAN, a grant award notification. That is the official notification of what comes in. And typically those happen fairly early in the year. Remember that a federal government works on a different cycle than everybody else does. So it is a October 1st fiscal year. So usually in the very first part of the school year is when we see both the grant award notification and the cash availability turn up from DPI, which is how that money comes in through us. But it's typically in one big block.
So we won't, we'll have to see what happens in October?
I think at this point we've seen the GANs for Title I. They have yanked the preliminary allotments for the ones that are affected by the actions last week.
Right.
They've withdrawn those, but the other ones that have moved forward. And the two critical ones for us in terms of size are Title I and IDEA. Those have continued to move forward.
So the reason why I'm asking this is just for planning purposes. Everyone's working so hard to plan and to put people in place. We're going to get new teachers. We're doing all this stuff, right?
Right.
What happens if in October, or we don't get what we thought we were?
Same thing we're doing now with these other grants, right? Because if you had asked me on the morning of June 30th, do I think Title II would have gone away, I would have told you no, but here we are. So.
Okay, so we just have to wait and see.
Correct. And I think once the money drops, it's a better indicator of the finality of, those funding sources are going to be available to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for people listening, Title I is a federal definition. All the things that you just explained, or this is not something we've invented. This is not our schools qualify based on federal guidelines, and we're working with Department of Education guidelines.
That's right. Okay. And Title I has been around for a long time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good questions. Anyone else? Shannon, and then Sam.
I just want to say I think Thinking Maps is a great instructional tool. So I'm glad to see you all are using that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Sam?
My question, when Ms. Almond is here talking about free and reduced lunch and all that kind of stuff, when she uses the term direct certification, are we using it the same way?
Yes, we are.
So would cuts in EBT, SNAP, those kind of programs, would that impact direct certification?
SNAP may.
Because they won't be directly certified.
Right.
Which
It
would
could.
impact
Home,
our student ratios.
Housing assistance.
Right.
It's a formula that
Right.
they use all of these different government assisted funding.
So it's a domino effect. If fewer families qualify for direct certification, then we'll have fewer students qualified for this,
Could,
Right, that,
theoretically.
theoretically, yeah.
right.
Okay.
And so our Title I funding, we base those allotments on, we have to pick a snapshot, like any particular point in the school year. We, for Title I, generally use April 1 because that's also when the direct certification number that they use to determine CEP eligibility for the next year. So that's locked in for this school year. We would never reduce a school's funding or take it away
Right.
based on a fluctuation this
I
year.
guess I'm talking about going forward.
Right, that's a
Yeah,
concern.
Yeah. And one other question, I assume McKinney-Vento funding, the lion's share of that is transportation.
A good chunk of that,
Yeah.
that and tutoring
Tutoring too,
for those
okay.
tutoring services for
Right.
those students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Another good question. Anybody else? Okay, so we understand what we're voting for. We will need a motion and a second to approve the Title I budget plan for the school year, this upcoming school year. Okay, a motion by Ms. Escobar, second by Ms. Lancaster. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote on that one. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that plan passes. Thank you very much for the presentation time to explain those complicated terms and programs. All right, our last action item is 8.09. This is board member training credits. And essentially, board members have a requirement to get 12 hours of training every 2 years. It's in the general statute. We typically will use the School Board Association, North Carolina School Boards Association, to get that training. If we use somebody other than that, we can still qualify for the training hours, but we've got to approve it as a board and submit that to the North Carolina School Board Association. So we've had a few trainings that have been in the past year. One was Greg went to the UNC Charlotte Literacy Summit, and then most of us attended the school board member training that was provided by our attorney a couple months back for 2 hours. So those applications have been filled out. They're on the board docs. And yeah, Pam.
I just have a question. So if we agree to this, what we're asking is that this will be these hours will be submitted to NCSBA, and NCSBA would make the decision about whether or not that training is equal to their training?
Well, it's additional. They're going to they're keeping the hours for us as we have a printout of who's got what hours. Is my understanding, is that right, Lori, our board clerk?
But I'm saying, I guess the question I have is whether or not it's that the training matches their guidelines. That's their decision, or is that our decision?
In the 12 years I've been on the board, they've accepted all of the training if our board has said it qualifies.
So we are making a decision about saying that this qualifies.
We believe it qualifies for board member training.
Okay. Well, I'll just say I don't have enough information about Mr. Mills' UNC Charlotte Early Literacy Summit to know if it qualifies or not. I know about the other one because I participated in it.
Gotcha. Well, that's a good question. So, Greg, do you want to explain what that was that you attended?
Sure. The Mabane School at UNCC hosts an early literacy summit every year. There's usually a keynote speaker, and then I attended 3 different breakout sessions. Provided in board docs is a certificate that UNC Charlotte Cato College of Education provided that said that is good for 5 total contact hours of CEU literacy credits. So that's what it is. And I can tell you, I probably have some notes somewhere on what those 3 individual seminars that I sat through were, but most of them were related to community engagement. So how we get involved in the community in supporting early literacy.
And it's hours towards the 12. Most of us are going to easily meet that 12 over a 2-year period if we go to any one of the NCSBA items anyway. But again, it's we're encouraged as board members to try to learn as much as we can and to become better decision makers and to know what's going on. So if this thing, if you believe that helps you do your job.
If it's a hang up for anybody on this board, I'm fine to remove those from the list. I'll have plenty of training hours.
Okay, well, we've got the list that's been presented to us. So we'll need a motion to approve that in a second. If we want to modify that, somebody's got to make an amendment. Okay, so moved. What?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mills, Mr. Mills, is that included in the list we have here? It is, okay, I just want to make sure. I'm willing to make a motion that we accept this list, whatever that is.
Okay.
Is this list what's being approved, or?
To be honest, I don't know what that list exactly is.
I
Lori's,
think this list is a total of board members' credits.
so this adds to that list.
Okay.
Okay, so this is just for informational purposes. Okay, and that's not on board docs, this list. Can we add that? Can we add that to board docs? Okay, well, do you want
So, I'm a little confused. So are we voting just on Mr. Mills?
We're voting on, the motion is all of them. If you want to remove one,
Oh, my motion stands in, that we approve all of the credits that are delineated in our agenda.
okay. Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Lancaster. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote on that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, say no. All right, well, that passes, so we will submit those to the NCSBA. And that was our last action item. We do have a need for a closed session. So I will read that. I'll need a motion and a second that the board convene in closed session to consult with an attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3. And there's a list of cases for that. And then we also have a need to discuss confidential personal matters pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6. So anybody with that motion in a second would be appreciated. Okay, motion by Mr. Treadaway. Second, thank you by Mrs. Freeman. Any further discussion? All in favor of going into closed session, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, so we will now move into closed session and say good night to our viewing audience, and we will see you next month.